Stop thinking of the lone wolf as a hero. In the real world, downrange, we call him a casualty who just hasn't stopped breathing yet. Pop culture has sold you a lie that is going to get you killed. You see the movies where one guy with a tactical beard and a go bag takes on the apocalypse, moving through the shadows, self-reliant, untouchable. It looks cool, it feels rugged, but mathematically, it is a suicide pact you are signing with yourself. When the grid goes black and the rule of law evaporates, isolation isn't a strategy, it's an accelerator for your own mortality. I'm going to break down the cold, hard calculus of why going it alone is a statistical impossibility for long-term survival. We aren't talking about a weekend camping trip. We are talking about a collapse scenario where the systems you rely on, police, hospitals, supply chains, are gone. In that environment, the lone wolf isn't a predator, he is prey. The math creates a friction coefficient that grinds a single human being into dust within weeks. Today, we are dismantling the myth, looking at the tactical reality of sleep deprivation, security sectors, and caloric deficits, and I'm going to show you why your neighbour, even the one you can't stand, is a more valuable asset than your rifle. Let's paint the picture. Meet Carter. Carter is our lone wolf. He's done everything right on paper. He has 6 months of freeze-dried food in the basement. He has a rain catchment system. He has an AR-15 and 2,000 rounds of green tip. When the event hits, a cascading cyber attack that takes down the Eastern interconnection, Carter doesn't panic. He locks his doors. He blacks out his windows. He trusts no one. He watches his neighbours running around like headless chickens, begging for water, looting the local gas station. Carter sits tight. He feels superior. He feels safe. For the first 72 hours, his plan works perfectly. He eats a hot meal. He cleans his weapon. He sleeps in shifts, waking up every 2 hours to check the perimeter. But by day 4, the silence in the house starts to get heavy. The adrenaline that carried him through the initial shock is fading, replaced by a gnawing fatigue. He hasn't had a continuous 4-hour block of sleep since the lights went out. His eyes are gritty. His reaction time is slipping. Outside, the chaos is settling into a new, predatory rhythm, and Carter is the only pair of eyes watching 360 degrees of threat. This is where the math starts to kill Carter. It's the biology of security. A human being requires roughly 6 to 8 hours of sleep to maintain cognitive function. In a high-stress tactical environment, you can operate on 4, maybe for a few days. But Carter is alone. He has to watch the front door. He has to watch the backyard. He has to listen for footsteps on the porch. If he sleeps, he is vulnerable. If he doesn't sleep, he goes insane. It is a zero-sum game. By day 5, Carter is experiencing micro-sleeps. He's standing at the window, rifle in hand, and he loses 3 seconds of time. He snaps back, heart hammering. Was that a shadow moving? Or was it a hallucination? The paranoia sets in. Every creak of the house sounds like a breach. His cortisol levels are redlining, which burns calories he can't spare. He is technically secure inside his fortress, but his software, his brain, is crashing. He is making bad decisions. He leaves the safety on when he shouldn't. He forgets to lock the side gate after checking the water barrel. The lone wolf isn't being hunted by a supervillain yet. He's being hunted by his own biology. Most of you watching this think you're ready because you bought a water filter and a knife. You're guessing. Carter thought he was ready too. But do you know your actual operational capacity? Do you know how many days your current caloric stockpile will last if you're burning 4,000 calories a day on perimeter defense? You need to stop guessing and look at the hard numbers. I want you to go to protocolsurvival.com right now. We built a tool called the Survival Score. It takes your inventory, your location, and your group size, and it runs the math. It tells you exactly where your plan fails. Maybe you have food for a year, but water for a week. Maybe you have the gear, but zero community assets. That score is your reality check. It's free to try. Don't wait until the grid is down to realise you failed the math test. Go to protocolsurvival.com and get your score. Now, I know what some of you are typing in the comments. Sergeant Miller, I'm not staying in the suburbs. I'm bugging out to a cabin in the woods. Nobody will find me. Let's steelman that argument. Let's assume you make it to the woods. Let's assume you have a year of food. You think you're invisible? In 1980, maybe. Today, you are fighting a losing battle against technology. Drones with thermal imaging are consumer-grade toys now. Any group of marauders worth their salt will have a drone. In the winter, your cabin is a heat bloom in a sea of cold. You light a fire to stay warm? You're a beacon. You run a generator? You're an acoustic target for 3 miles. Even without tech, you leave tracks. You create smell. And here is the kicker. If you are truly remote, you are truly alone. If you break your leg chopping wood, which happens, you die. If you get appendicitis, you die. If you get a tooth abscess that goes septic, you die. The mountain man myth ignores the fact that the mountain tries to kill you every single day. Nature is not your friend. It is an indifferent force that crushes isolated systems. Your remoteness is not a shield. It is a cage that prevents rescue. Back to Carter. It's day 10. He's exhausted, running on caffeine pills and fear. He needs to board up a window that looks a little flimsy. He's rushing because he wants to get back to his observation post. He swings a hammer, misses the nail, and smashes his left thumb. A split second of bad luck. In the old world, he swears, put some ice on it, maybe takes an ibuprofen. In this world, that thumb is a catastrophe. It swells up. He can't grip his rifle properly with his support hand. He can't tie his boots quickly. He decides to lance the pressure under the nail with a needle he sterilised with a lighter. But his hands are shaking from sleep deprivation. He goes too deep. He introduces bacteria. 2 days later, his hand is a hot, red balloon. He has a fever. He's dizzy. Now he has to choose. Does he go out to the rain barrel to get water and risk passing out in the open? Or does he stay inside, dehydrated and burning up? This is the medical cascade. One minor injury reduces his combat effectiveness by 50%. A second problem, dehydration, compounds it. He is spiralling towards zero capacity, and there is nobody to hand him a glass of water. Now, let's look 3 streets over. There's a cul-de-sac. 6 families. They didn't isolate. They barricaded the entrance to the street. They have 12 adults capable of standing watch. Do the math. 24 hours in a day, 2 people on watch at all times for redundancy. That's 48 man-hours of labour. Divided by 12 people, that is 4 hours of duty per person. Everyone sleeps 8 hours. Everyone eats. While 2 people watch the perimeter, 2 others are boiling water. 2 others are tending to the garden or scavenging. 1 person, Mrs. Higgins, who happens to be a retired nurse, is checking on a kid with a fever. This group isn't just surviving, they are retaining their humanity. They have morale. They talk. They joke. Their cortisol levels are manageable. When a threat approaches, a group of looters testing defences, they have 6 rifles on the line, communicating via radio, using flanking tactics. The looters see a hard target and move on. They move on to easier prey. They move on to Carter's house, where the lights are off and a single, feverish man is shivering in the dark. I hear the objection. But Miller, people are dangerous. In a collapse, your neighbours will steal your food. OPSEC is everything. Listen, I get it. Operational security is vital. You don't broadcast your inventory. But treating every human interaction as a threat is a strategic error. It's game theory. In a one-time encounter, selfishness wins. But survival is a repeated game. You have to live next to these people for months. If you treat them like enemies, they become enemies. If you treat them like assets, you build a tribe. The biggest threat to your stockpile isn't your neighbour asking for a cup of sugar. It's a roving gang of 20 armed men. You cannot fight 20 men alone. I don't care if you're ex-special forces. I don't care if you have a belt-fed machine gun. Without a team to cover your six, to reload while you suppress, to watch the flank, you will be overrun. Fire and manoeuvre, the basic building block of infantry tactics, requires two elements. One moves, one shoots. You cannot fire and manoeuvre by yourself. You can only die in place. Your neighbours are your force multiplier. You feed them, you arm them, you train them, and suddenly you have a platoon. Let's talk about the physics of water. Water weighs 8.3 pounds per gallon. You need a minimum of a gallon a day for hydration and basic hygiene. That's assuming you aren't doing heavy labour. But in a grid down scenario, you are doing heavy labour. You are hauling wood, digging latrines, reinforcing windows. So you need 2 gallons. That's 16 pounds a day. If your water source is a creek half a mile away, that is a tactical movement with heavy weight. Carter, with his infected hand, has to make that run. He has to leave his fortress. He has to carry 2 5-gallon jerry cans, 80 pounds of water, back uphill. He is slow, he is noisy, he is defenceless while carrying the load. And he has to do this every few days. The group? They send a team, 4 guys. 2 carry water, 2 provide security detail. They can carry 40 gallons in one trip safely. They can set up a bucket brigade. They can share the caloric burden. Carter burns 1,000 calories he doesn't have just to get a drink. The group burns 200 calories per person for a week's supply. This is the efficiency of cooperation. The math of calories in versus calories out dictates that the lone wolf starves to death while working himself into the grave. Day 21. Carter is a ghost. He's lost 20 pounds. His hand is a mess of pus and pain. He's hallucinating voices. He hears a twig snap, real this time. A 3-man scout team from a marauder group is probing his perimeter. They saw the heat bloom from his chimney. They know someone is home. They toss a rock at the front door to see what happens. Carter, terrified and twitchy, dumps a magazine through the door. 30 rounds. Wasted. The scouts laugh. They know exactly where he is now. They know he's undisciplined. They pull back and wait for nightfall. Carter spends the next 6 hours shaking, reloading magazines with his good hand, staring into the dark. He can't call for backup. He can't sleep. He is the only thing standing between him and the end. At 0300 hours, they hit him. Not from the front, but from 3 sides. They smash a back window. Carter spins to fire, but a Molotov cocktail comes through the side window. Fire. The ultimate enemy of the fortified position. He has to run. He stumbles out the front door, coughing smoke, into the waiting sights of the guy watching the exit. It's over. Not with a bang, but with a coughing fit and a single shot. Rewind. Same marauder group hits the cul-de-sac. The scout team trips a tripwire connected to a chem light 50 yards out. The sentry sees the glow. He doesn't fire. He wakes the shift commander. The group goes to alert status red silently. They have pre-planned sectors of fire. They let the scouts come in close. When the marauders try to breach the barricade, they are hit with overwhelming coordinated fire from 3 different angles. It's a kill box. The marauders take immediate casualties and break contact. They run. They don't come back. The group didn't just survive, they reinforced their reputation as a hard target. Nobody got hurt. They debrief, they rotate shifts, and they go back to sleep. This isn't Hollywood heroics. This is standard operating procedure. This is what humans have done for 10,000 years. We pack up. We circle the wagons. We survive. The lone primate is a snack for the leopard. The troop is the apex predator. Let's strip away the tactical for a second and look at the mental. You are not a robot. You are a social animal. We are wired for connection. Isolation is used as torture in prisons for a reason. It breaks the mind. In a survival scenario, you need a reason to keep going. When it's just you and the world is grey and cold, and you're eating cold beans for the 100th time, the question, why bother, gets louder and louder. Depression is lethal. It makes you slow. It makes you careless. But when you are protecting someone, your wife, your kids, your neighbours, you have a mission. Guilt is a powerful fuel. You will push through exhaustion because you cannot let them down. You will stay awake because your child is sleeping behind you. That emotional connection isn't a weakness. It's a psychological force multiplier. It gives you the why that allows you to endure the how. Carter died partly because he had nothing to live for but his own skin. The group survived because they were living for each other. That shared burden anchors you to reality when the world is falling apart. I need to address the elephant in the room. Some of you are thinking, this is all fear-mongering. The National Guard will deploy. FEMA will set up camps. The Navy will bring hospital ships. Let me stop you right there. In a regional disaster? Sure. Hurricane strikes Florida, the rest of the US sends help. But in a total grid-down scenario? A cyber attack or EMP that hits the whole continent? The cavalry isn't coming. The cavalry is stranded. The National Guard are people. They have families. If the grid goes down and the cities start burning, Sergeant Jones isn't reporting to the armory to protect your house. He is going AWOL to protect his wife and kids. The trucks don't roll without fuel. The comms don't work without satellites. The federal government has contingency plans for the continuity of government, not the continuity of you. You are not on the VIP list to the mountain bunker. You are on your own. If you are waiting for a saviour in a uniform, you are going to die waiting. You have to become the saviour. You have to build the local governance yourself. That is what the Pact is. It is the micro-government that fills the vacuum when the macro-government collapses. History backs this up. Look at Sarajevo during the siege in the 90s. Look at New Orleans after Katrina. Look at the Great Depression. Who survived? It wasn't the guy who holed up in his attic with a shotgun. It was the neighbourhoods that organised. It was the people who created social capital. In Sarajevo, money was worthless. Cigarettes and connections were the currency. If you knew a guy who could fix a generator, and he knew a guy who had antibiotics, you traded skills. The lone wolves were targeted immediately by snipers and gangs. The networks survived. The research from disaster sociology is clear. Social ties are the strongest predictor of survival. Stronger than your food supply. Stronger than your ammo count. Your network is your net worth. If you are building a bunker but ignoring your neighbours, you are building a tomb. You need to start building bridges, not just walls. You need to know who down the street is a mechanic, who is a doctor, who is a gardener. That is your inventory. That is your arsenal. Speaking of networks and intel, Let's talk about information. When the grid drops, the cloud is gone. Your Google Drive, your YouTube playlists, your online maps, poof, vanished. You need a system that works when the lights go out. That is why I built the offline mode into Protocol Survival. It allows you to download your entire survival plan, your inventory lists, your local maps, and your medical guides directly to your device's local storage. It works in airplane mode. It works in a Faraday bag. You can secure your data so that when the internet dies, your brain doesn't die with it. You can track your group's resources without a signal. This is the digital equivalent of a hard copy, but smarter. Don't rely on a server farm in Virginia that is currently on fire. Secure your data now. Go to Protocol Survival and sync your offline profile. So how do you do this? How do you go from lone wolf to pack leader without looking like a crazy person? You don't go knocking on doors wearing your plate carrier, asking people if they want to form a militia. You start small. You start normal. You host a block party. You lend a tool. You help someone jumpstart their car. You build social credit. You identify the useful people. Hey Bob, I notice you do a lot of gardening. I'm trying to grow tomatoes. Got any tips? Now you have an agricultural asset. Hey Sarah, I saw you wearing scrubs. You work at the hospital? Now you have a medical asset. You build the web of trust before the disaster happens. Then, when the lights go out, you are the guy they look to. You are the guy who says, "Hey everyone, let's meet at my place to figure this out." You don't force leadership, you assume it through competence and preparation. You become the hub. You create the structure. That is how you survive. Not by hiding from your community, but by leading it. Let's throw one last variable into the mix. Disease. In a collapse, sanitation fails. Cholera, dysentery, typhoid return. If you are alone and you get hit with a GI bug that causes severe vomiting and diarrhea, you are dead in 48 hours from dehydration. You literally cannot hydrate fast enough to replace the fluids, and you are too weak to boil water. In a group, you have a sick bay. You have isolation protocols. You have people to force feed you electrolytes. You have people to handle the waste safely so it doesn't reinfect you. The lone wolf lives in his own filth because he is too weak to move it. The pack digs latrines. The pack boils linens. The pack quarantines the sick. This isn't glorious. It isn't a shootout. But it is what kills more people in history than bullets. A group is a biological immune system. An individual is a single cell waiting to be infected. You cannot secure your health sector alone. You need a medical team, even if that team is just your neighbour holding a bucket and a bottle of bleach. We need to redefine what survival actually means. Is survival just a heartbeat? Is it just keeping your metabolic processes running for as long as possible? If you live for 3 years in a hole, speaking to no one, terrified of every sound, eating rat meat, did you survive? Or are you just a lingering ghost? True survival is the preservation of civilization. It is the preservation of values, of language, of culture, of humanity. You cannot do that alone. The lone wolf is a dead end. He leaves no legacy. He builds nothing. The pack builds. The pack rebuilds schools. The pack rebuilds laws. The pack rebuilds the future. If your plan ends with you being the last man on Earth, your plan sucks. The goal isn't to be the last one standing. The goal is to be the first one rebuilding. That requires hands. That requires trust. That requires love. Yes, I said it. Love. The bond that makes a mother fight a bear for her cub. That is the most potent combat drug on the planet. Use it. Let's recap the math. Alone, you have 0% redundancy on security, you have 100% vulnerability to injury, you have a caloric deficit from labour, you have a mental health expiration date of about 30 days. In a group, you have 24/7 security with rest cycles. You have specialised labour. You have medical depth. You have psychological support. The odds shift from 99% fatality to 60% survival. Those are the numbers. You don't have to like people to need them. You don't have to be an extrovert. You just have to be smart. You have to be a cold, calculating survivor who realises that friends are actually biological assets in a grid-down economy. So, kill the lone wolf in your head. Bury him. He's a fantasy. He's a ghost. Wake up and look at your neighbours. Look at your family. That is your survival kit. That is your weapon system. Polish it, maintain it, and be ready to defend it. The grid isn't what keeps the lights on, folks. The grid is just copper and glass. What keeps the darkness out is us. It's the agreement we make to not eat each other when the sun goes down. If that agreement breaks, the copper wire won't save you. Only the person standing next to you can do that. Make sure you're standing next to the right people, because when the sky turns black, you don't want to be the wolf howling at the moon. You want to be the pack hunting in the dark.